calves have performed very well, happy enough. It's a good trade last year, and I'd say even this year, the trade towards the back end even improved again. So I suppose through the years we're getting the €3, and this year I suppose last back end you'll be talking about it got up to €4 or $4.50 for bull weanlings, which is exceptional trade, and the heifers to be, I suppose, as you say, a niche market. You can name your price on that, depends on shape and quality.
Hello and welcome to the Beef Edge, the Teagasc Beef podcast, for all your latest news, information and advice for Irish beef farmers. I'm Catherine Egan, and with the upcoming Irish Grassland Association National Beef Walk taking place next week, I'm joined by suckler and sheep farmer Martin Shaughnessy from County Mayo and the Irish Grassland Association Beef chairperson Paddy Casey to discuss Martin's beef system and the upcoming open day on the 11th of June. Martin, can you give an overview of your beef and sheep system?
I suppose, I'm based here in Ballinrobe, near Ballinrobe. I suppose it's a dry farm. I have about 34 acres own land myself, and I have about 34 acres rented as well, leased. As you say, I'm a suckler and sheep farmer. I have 16 to 17 suckler cows, all AI used, mostly Belgian Blue sires. Also the sheep, I suppose, is a big part of my farm as well. I have 150 ewes as well. They'll be lambing in February, and half them in February and half them the end of March into April.
And how are the lambs performing at the moment, Martin?
Yes, I suppose I lambed about 70 ewes, 75 ewes. I synchronise all my ewes. I suppose to do with my work as well. We're working 2 or 3 days off as well, with in the Marts. So I suppose I synchronise all my ewes. Last September I synchronised 75 ewes, and they'll be all lambing in February, and the rest of them then synchronised. The rest of them they'll be lambing the end of March. How are they thriving at the moment? I suppose I have about 130 lambs gone of the February lambs already. They'll be all creep fed, and I do creep grazing on the lambs as well, so they'll be forward. The lambs will be ahead of the ewes all the time. I'd feed all the lambs in Trost in as well, so there's not instead of bad lib, to be able to control the amount of feed the lambs are getting.
And in relation to the weaning system you're operating, Martin, you're really operating at the higher end of the market for bull and heifer weanlings. How did the weanlings perform last year?
Yeah, I'm happy enough. Last year, I suppose, the last 20 years I've gone down the Belgian Blue route of using Belgian Blue in my system. I suppose it's just it's a different niche market. I suppose nearly all export calves. I suppose the last few years, I suppose more focusing on coloured heifers and to breed a bit of colour into your heifers, and looking for that niche market on the show or on the breeding side of it. Calves have performed very well this year or last year. Happy enough. It's a good trade last year, and I'd say even this year, the trade towards the back end even improved again. So, you were constantly, I suppose, through the years we're getting the €3, and this year I suppose last back end you'll be talking about it got up to €4 or $4.50 for bull weanlings, which is exceptional trade, and the heifers to be, I suppose, as you say, a niche market. You can name your price on that, depends on shape and quality.
Really impressive prices, Martin, for the weanlings. I suppose they're probably in the target 300 or 400 kilo weaning weight.
Yeah, that'd be I suppose, from the 1st of January to the end of March. I suppose I keep it fairly tight to try to have all my weanlings sold by mid-October, and, to do with export and things like that, because later on the season it can be a bit tighter, maybe on shipping and things like that. But I suppose I like to sell my weanlings in September, so I suppose I like to calve from January to the end of March. But I suppose the target weights would be on the bulls naturally to get them up around 400 kilos or a bit with it, probably 350, 370, that'd be minimum. The heifer side of it, I suppose you can sell them at a lighter weight. You'd like to have them up around 350 kilos, but naturally if you could have them over 300 kilos selling, I'd be happy enough with that. There is a demand for that 300 kilo heifer, who wants to use a bit of quality and colour.
And the breeding and genetics, the fact you're using 100% AI, that's really paying dividends. How has breeding season been going for you so far this year?
Yeah, I suppose it has its ups and downs. I suppose this year, it was a late spring. Usually I'd be getting out my cows at the end of March because I have a dry farm. The out farm wouldn't be as dry as my home farm. But this year, as everyone knows, it has been a very, very wet spring. I suppose we near the 20th of April before I did let out cows. But I suppose I started AIing my cows from the mid-March on, so sort of calving from the 1st of January on. So as it happens, I had them in nearly 2 weeks more, 3 more weeks than usual. So I did pick up a lot of heats in the shed and got a lot of cows AI'd going out. I've all my cows AI'd at this stage, and the last one was bulled AI'd on the 27th of May. If they repeat up to around the 20th of June, I usually stop AIing after that. But conception rates have been fairly good, especially in the shed. And so far, it'd be an odd one, maybe repeating, but not bad. Used a small bit of sex semen as well this year in cows, which probably didn't use before, and be using it in the heifers all right for the last few years.
And how have you found the sex semen has worked with regard with conception rates?
Yeah, I suppose I was always sort of a believer, maybe indoor, they're on the same nutrition, maybe probably work a bit better. That was my thinking. So I suppose any of the cows was bulled inside. I think I bulled about 5 cows inside, and I think 4 of them held with sex semen, so I was very happy with that. I suppose the heifers, maybe 3 out of 4, maybe kept with the sex semen. Usually on the second straw, I go conventional after that if they do repeat. I think out of grass, I maybe just in my own head, I found that maybe the nutrition from coming out of the shed to going out to grass, it's not just maybe as straightforward as the weather conditions and things like that. I did use one sex semen, and she seemed to have held, but I've used all conventional semen since they went out to grass, really, except one.
And what heat detection aids are you using picking up cows on heat?
Yeah, I suppose looking through the years, I suppose I've been using tail paint and things like that, but I suppose the last 5 or 6 years I've a vectomized bull. I think he well pays for himself in the run of the year. I just buy him as a Wayland bull in October. I vectomize him in the back end. I do let him in with the cows in from March on. I do have a chin ball on him. I think that's the key as well, especially when you're working as well. If you don't see the cows twice a day or 3 times a day, normally you'd miss them. But with the teaser bull, once you have the chin ball on them, the cows will be well marked, and you're able to pick up and get timing of the eye, I think, which is important. You're not just guessing.
You mentioned earlier, Martin, with regard grassland management has been very difficult this spring and even in the last month. How are you managing grass at the moment, particularly with the different grazing groups with sheep and cows and calves?
Yeah, I suppose. Look at. I suppose the way I have. I suppose you say I have a small farm at the house. I usually keep all the cattle at the house. I have a platform about 12 acres, maybe 12 acres, and I run the cows on that section with paddocks. I suppose the rest of the fields, a lot of my fields are very small or maybe fragmented. I've them broke up as well now with sheep wire as well at this stage. So a lot of the fields are halved as well to make smaller paddocks for the sheep. I suppose my grazing system, starts on the 1st of February, which I had about 65 ewes lambing in a week. They all went out to grass in the first week of February. So I suppose conditions were very, very hard this spring to the amount of damage and poaching they've done to the ground. I suppose the grazing. I didn't graze the back end, I suppose, but the cows went out from Christmas on. So I suppose I don't mix sheep and cattle. From March once they go out, they're separated. I suppose it makes it easier as well when you're AIing not to have sheep mixed through cattle as well. But grass situation at the moment, I'd say the last while it's just very hard to keep paddocks under control. Maybe just the swar's not real thick compared to other years. Now I have a very dry farm. I suppose if we want the farms that would be looking for rain, but I think the torrential rain we got the last few weeks, it has the opposite effect on my farm, which I'm lucky, one of the lucky ones that it's a dryish farm, but grass is tight. It's just not getting that real burst yet, but hopefully by next week or whatever, we'll get a bit of heat. It will change around. I suppose I'd rather not too much grass than too little is more hard to control and keep stock moving, especially when you have sheep. You need the right covers for the lambs to keep them thriving and things like that this time of the year.
Most definitely. And how did you get on with silage harvesting this year?
Yeah, I don't take a big cut in the first cut. I suppose I have a lot of sheep. I suppose I prioritise, try to get my cows out early, get as many lambs sold as possible. And things are on target with that I have all the early lambs sold, bar about 15 or 20. So, I do take a lot of paddocks out. I do find there's a way of controlling grass, less topping, just maybe skip a paddock if you think your grass days ahead and things like that. The paddock system does tell you exactly how many days you have in each paddock the cow is going to be, so it's going to get a good idea. This year maybe you wouldn't just have as much grass as other years, but as I get rid of lambs, I'll have a lot more grass going into June, that I'll be able to take a lot more silage. So I think I'm in a good spot at the moment,
And what's your plan? Will you close some paddocks now for second cut or just take them as surpluses?
Yeah, I have taken 2 fields out there a week ago. 2 fields, I took out 1 paddock and I had another field for silage, first cut silage. That'll be all done into second cut silage now, which should be cut, I suppose, the end of July again. And I'd say in the run of the year now, in the next month, I'll be taking out paddocks and things like that. Surplus grass is a way of keeping the farm in tight, keeping the grazing fairly tight and keeping it in good condition and hopefully get good thriving in the lambs and the calves.
Grass is really a cornerstone to your success. And it's no surprise that you're hosting this year's Irish Grassland Association National Beef Open Day. When is that taking place?
Yeah, it's taking place next Tuesday, the 11th of June. It's starting at 6 o'clock. Refreshments first and 6:30 then. I suppose Paddy will go through all the stands that's been done, but I think there'll be a bit for everyone in the sheep side of it, and I suppose the cattle side of it. I suppose the sheep in this part of the world, I suppose there's a lot of sheep, and it's a mix between sheep and suckling. So I suppose they always say not to have all your eggs in the one basket, and I suppose that's where the sheep comes in this year. Big time.
I suppose, Paddy, the Irish Grassland Association this year of all years, this open day is definitely one not to be missed.
Absolutely, Catherine, and thanks for the opportunity to speak on the podcast. Look, if you've listened to Martin there, you can see why we've selected Martin. I mean, the IGA as a group, its main message since the foundation has been to grow and maximise grass in the diet. And looking at Martin's system, we estimate that up to 95% of his feed is actually coming from grass and grass silage. So it's a phenomenal performance. And look, on the open day, definitely that will be on show and you'll see how Martin is achieving it. But I think more importantly, from a beef point of view, the suckler cow is still a very important animal in the beef system, and particularly across the fragmented farms in the west of Ireland. You can, listening to Martin there, you see you have a very saleable animal at all times of the year, really, whether it's a weanling, a store, or a finisher. In Martin's case, it's a weanling, and he has a very strong export trade for the beef system. So, look, we're delighted to get the opportunity to showcase Martin's farm. I think he's an excellent example of what the IGA as an association want to showcase. And I think any beef farmer, indeed any farmer, will see something on the farm that will be make it worth their while to come along. So, as Martin was saying, we're hoping to kick off at 6 o'clock with some food, 6 sharp now, and then we'd need to be starting on the stands for 6:30. So the plan, Catherine, if I'll just go through it, the plan is on the first stand that we'll have an overview of the farm. As Martin is in the Creduff catchment and water quality area, we will have a discussion on that at that first stand as well, with Eddie Burgess from the catchment area. And then the next stand, we will definitely have a look with, I'm sure a lot of people want to see the stock and Martin's breeding policy, which he has discussed there, and indeed how, and I have to wonder myself how he actually achieves the calving of these cows, because he has cows that are U-grade cows, and he's taken out some exceptional E-grade calves. So I think the management and the discussion at that stand will certainly interest a lot of people to see, how that's achieved and how he's managing to keep these calves going then when they come out on the ground. So, like, the performance will be discussed on stand 3, and that's where we'll have some figures on this year's calves as well as last year's, the 2023 calves. And I think, discuss with Martin the reasons behind the performance of the calves on the farm, because he is getting, 1.3 plus kilos a day average daily gain on bulls, and 1.15 or more on the heifers. So, like, it's an exceptionally strong performance on a grass farm. And the other thing is, for a beef farm, he's producing over 10.5, nearly 11 tons of grass dry matter. So there's lots of dairymen who'll be very happy to produce that amount of grass. So there's an exceptional message there on grass and how to use it and maximize the actual output from the beef and indeed the sheep. You've listened to Martin there, how much of the sheep is already gone. And like the last piece on that stand, we have a veterinary expert as well, who will discuss in detail the whole issue of calf rearing and keeping them thriving, and maybe even discuss some issues regards keeping calf scour at bay, in the early situation. So from the point of view of the evening, I think we couldn't have looked for a better farm. We're delighted anyhow to partner with Martin and FBD, who are our sponsors for this event, and look forward to meeting as many people as possible on the day. And look, all the details will be on the IGA website anyhow, but I think, look, if I was to say one thing, I think it's very important for people to realise and the national media to realise that you can run a very efficient and well-stocked farm and still work in harmony with nature. And like Martin is definite proof that can happen when you look at the catchment area that's there and the water quality that's in that area. So, look, come along and see it for yourself.
Thanks very much, Paddy. Really, it's a very interesting showcase of different technical topics on the evening, and a very important social evening for all beef farmers and all farmers, as you mentioned, for listeners, like-minded farmers and industry stakeholders to come along on the evening. So it's not just for members, all farmers are welcome. I suppose, Paddy, that's the important thing.
Absolutely, Catherine. Yeah, I should have said that. Surely everyone is welcome along. And indeed, as Martin has said, there'll be something there for all, because he has the sheep on one side. Okay, it's a beef opening evening, so we'll be concentrating on the beef. But like, in terms of the stock and how the job has been run and how well it's been run in an environmental context as well, I think, Catherine, there's a message there for everyone. So, yeah, we do look forward to having a good number of people there. This event normally would attract north of 300 people on the evening, and I think Martin is expecting that we'll have even more, so we'll cater if they come along.
That's great. Thanks very much, Paddy, and thanks very much, Martin. We look forward to attending the farm walk on the 11th of June, kicking off at 6 p.m, and all further details are available on the Irish Grassland Association website, and the link will be included in the podcast text. Thanks very much. We're looking forward to attending the walk.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks, Catherine.
That's all for this week's episode, and my thanks to Martin and Paddy for joining me on the show. You can catch up on all other shows and interviews from the Beef Edge podcast on the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie, or you can listen on Apple and Google Podcasts as well as Spotify. Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe so you never miss a show. For all other updates from our beef programme, keep an eye on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Until next time, I'm Catherine Egan, and thanks for listening.